Alright, and we should be live. Starting pretty much exactly on time. Usually it's more of like a general estimate of when I'm going to start. Gonna check my audio and stuff, make sure that's all set, and we'll just get rolling. I know it always autoplays an ad. I hope it's not just like this obnoxious ad at you guys immediately. Alright, sounds good. So I have a little poll going right now at the chat. Just what to work on. This is the Cursed Dry, which I have a vote for already. Someone voted early, which is awesome. And I'm probably just going to get started on this unless I'll leave the poll open for a little bit in case you guys want to see something else. But this poll feature is pretty darn cool. So I'm going to close that window. Streaming is just having like 6 windows open at once and just checking between them all, I swear. I had a fun little bit of troubleshooting before I started because I saw my OBS was using like, OBS is like the encoder that I use to stream. It was using a ton of my CPU and I'm like, what is the deal with this? I had like 2 copies of ZBrush being recorded and then they were both like 60 FPS and I'm like, no, why is that your default setting? Just one screen is fine, just one. I actually zoomed in a little bit this time too. So what you guys are seeing is not exactly what I see. It's like a zoomed in to the left version. I have more menus and junk all around it on my side. But yeah, just hang out for a second. Kind of think about how I want to work on this today because I do have it blocked out already. A big appeal of this model is going to be these tree roots. It's also the part I don't want to do the most. I'm not sure why. Tree roots are kind of like, they're funny. Like, it's one of those things I feel like doesn't look very good until like right at the very, very end. But if I work on like her hair or something, I can see it like come together a lot faster. So I'll probably bring up some references for myself about tree roots and get going with that. I'm gonna force myself to start with the roots at least a little bit. I'll make one good root and then I can use a bend curve to kind of position them more nicely. So I think that's what we're gonna do. Let's see, I'm just checking all my things. Looks like the body is like the total poly count. Goodness, having a stroke of the entire model right now. So I might actually take care of this first because it just doesn't need to be that high. Or even better yet, I might make a ZBrush copy of this so that way when I pose it later, it'll be a little bit easier. Yeah, I'll start with that. That'll be kind of a nice warm-up for starting today. Alright, so I'm going to ZBrush this at, actually 25 is fine. I just want to make sure it's going to be low. Even better than that, I'll actually decimate it first, just so I can speed up the process a little bit. There we go. And then it'll lose all of its color, but when I project it back, all the colors should come back. If the eyelashes are merged, I will need to separate those first as well. Yeah, we're going to separate those first as well, otherwise it's going to look really weird. Alright, auto groups, I'm going to remove eyes and eyelashes. And again, I'm just doing this so that way when I pose later, it's going to be a little bit easier. There we go. Hope you guys are having a good Friday. For a while now, I've been taking normal work weeks. So what I mean by that is before I'd kind of just work a little bit every day and I wouldn't really pay attention to whether or not it was weekend. But now I pretty much work just Monday through Friday and I strictly do not work on weekends unless I'm just like so inspired and must create art. And it's been a much better workflow. All right, there we go. And then I will take this and I will ZBrush it at half. I could probably even go lower than that, honestly. Oh, I'm gonna get my music playing on my side as well before I forget. And feel free to still vote in the poll too. I might jump around with different models today as well. There we go. Taylor Swift released a new album last night, so that's what I'm listening to. Oh, that's weird. Why did it do that? Oh, because it's hollow. I thought this was gonna be a really easy, like simple, like ZBrush, and it's immediately being a huge pain. So maybe I just won't worry about this until I'm closer to that point. I thought it'd be a nice little warm-up thing, but like, there's just so many more steps that need to happen for that to be ready. So I'm like, you know what? Nope, we're gonna call that good. All right, we're gonna do, I said I was going to do initially. We're done with the warm-up. All right, I'm going to start working on my first tree root. So I'm just appending a cylinder, kind of stretch out my general shape. I'm gonna get the texture correct first, and then I will start bending it around. Because I'm probably only gonna make one root, and then I will use that for everything. I'm gonna divide a few times and then immediately Dynamesh it. I don't Dynamesh right away because if it's really low poly and you Dynamesh at a highest resolution, then it embeds those low poly lines as if they're details. All right. I go in with clay buildup, and I'm also going to turn on lazy mouse, which I swear I use for everything. Also turning on backface mask, and to speed things up a little bit, let's turn on radial symmetry as well. Because I'm not doing a whole lot of irregular shapes yet. Oh, you know what? Something kind of clever that I can do. I always forget about this when I live stream. I will just put her over here and just stamp that on my screen. That way, when I'm working on something just like a brown cylinder, there is something interesting to look at the whole time, or people that tune in are like, what is she working on? That's what I'm working on. All right, textures are starting to get a little more uneven, which is perfect. I'm gonna go with even a smaller brush and add some more volume to this. I said I was going to grab a reference for this, and I didn't. I think it'll work out just fine. All right, that's something uneven. Looks good. And then I will go over it with Damn Standard, and I use this alpha a lot whenever I'm doing wood or even just like things that look distressed. I'll have to toy with it a little bit. I don't want to be too harsh. Hey, non-sleepers here. Hello. Oh, and happy birthday. That's very exciting. I'm glad you think it's fun to watch. I'll be hanging out for the next hour or so. So thanks for hanging out on your birthday. That's very cool. All right, so we have a tube. I'm going to decimate it quite a bit because I'm thinking I'm going to take this, instead of having an individual root to make this look more interesting, I might actually make one like braided. I'm not super sure how to do that. I remember a long time ago I saw an interesting tutorial on like braided cables or something on YouTube, and I didn't watch it all the way through. And so now we're going to just do my best to remember what they did. It was really cool. And I swear they didn't do it manually. They, what did they do? Oh well, I can't remember. So what we're going to do instead is I'm going to duplicate 3 of them. And then I'm going to spiral them together, and I'm hoping that will get me a similar effect that I'm happy with. It did. Woo. I'm always glad things work out the way that I'm hoping they're going to. Well, that's pretty nifty, isn't it? Well, cool. Okay, I feel a little more excited about these tree roots. Man, it's gonna be so freaking high poly. That's the one thing. I don't want to just have like... I wonder if I can get away with doing 50,000 each? Yeah, it looks fine. Because I'm gonna have several of them. And I could just work them in with like correct subdivision levels, but I don't feel like doing that. Alright, so we have our tube. I'm going to name it tree root base. And then I will duplicate this and I will start playing around with the shape now. I just want to keep a copy of the original just in case I do stuff that I end up not liking very much. I'm also going to hide all of the current roots that I have. And let's start changing this shape a little bit. Alright, so I'm going to use the bend curve deformer, which is really cool. I might need to increase my poly count to get this to work well. Maybe not. Looks like it's going to work just fine. And then the very end of this, I'm probably going to taper the ends. That way it has more of that tree root look, because it should taper off at the ends. Might need to add more dots. I might not use a taper deformer actually, because that might not do what I want. I'll just use a pinch brush and do it manually myself. I also want to make sure I add kind of like bumps to this. It's a tendency of mine to make things as like elegant and as flowing as possible, but in this case, the more rough that it looks, the better it's going to look. I think I want the last bit of it to be a little bit more upright as well, like it's sticking into the ground. Okay, I think that's a good start. Let's go with my pinch brush. Okay, there's one. I don't think it looks as twisted as it did before. Like, I feel like this looks very clearly braided. I think I'm losing a little bit of that effect here. I am curious if I just put a twist this entire thing, if I'll change the shape in a way that I like, maybe. Now I'll play with the taper while I'm here anyway. Yeah, I kind of like that. Alright, I am pretty happy with this. I'm going to put a little bit of poly paint on it. And then before I do this a bunch of times, I'm just going to do like a test pretty much. And I'm going to see if I were just to use this exact same piece over and over again, if it would look kind of like the effect that I want. So we'll see. Oh, Miguel's here. Hello. Congrats on 600. Thank you very much. If you don't know what he's talking about, my Patreon recently hit 600 subscribers, or patrons, which is exciting. Which I will put in the chat too. It's in the description, but I feel like who even reads descriptions anymore? But that's me. Miguel and I are both doing a fun event this month, actually, 31 Days of Spooky, if you haven't seen it. This is not part of that, but it is pretty spooky. But it's been a really, really fun month, and a ton of growth, very largely in part to that event I'm doing with Miguel, because he has a ton of followers, and he was very, very kind to, I guess, share them with me. It's been a really fun event. Hey, Xander. Long time no see. Alright. God, now that I have this stamped on the far left, I should really do that in more live streams. Or even when I work, it's kind of nice just to be able to reference like what it looks like. Okay. Let's get some more tree roots going on. And I want to just do this quickly because sometimes I end up saving myself a lot of time. Like, I will think about doing everything from scratch, And I realized I can just do one piece and then duplicate it a bunch of times, and it ends up working really well. Miguel says we're making spooky cocktails to celebrate right now. Oh, that's fantastic. I like it. It's a party. I bought a bunch of apple cider yesterday at Costco, so I will probably get some of that for myself later. It has been so much fun live streaming, though. I know I haven't live streamed a couple days, and that's because there's been a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, isn't there always? I'm gonna get a stream deck. I didn't need it. It's like, what was it, like 150 bucks or something? And I totally could have just saved the money, but they're so cool. And there's all, I like making little, like, pretty much like little GIFs and animations, but I never have anywhere to put them or use for them. But now at the stream deck, I can make it rain cats whenever I want on the screen, and I'm way too excited about it. Like, I know most people use it for like sound effects, that kind of stuff. I would just love that every time that someone comes in that I recognize, or if they're brand new, I could do some sort of ridiculous, not me personally, obviously, but like make some cute little effect run across the screen. I don't know. I'm super excited about it, I swear. If you guys have ideas for it, just let me know. I'm super open to it. It's the things that get me out of bed in the morning, guys, I swear. And the best part is, it is a business expense. I mean, I'm not sure if it'd be hard to explain how that is. It's necessary, but I mean, it sure makes me happy, so I'm going to say it's necessary then. Alright. This is working pretty good. Yeah, so see what I mean? I'm probably not going to have to make another tree root, actually. I can just take what I have. And what's really cool is, since I made this a braid initially, if I go to auto groups now and turn on mask by polygroups, I can like pull off individual roots. I can really get an interesting effect here. I'm really glad I started with this, even though I didn't want to. At the very beginning of the stream, if you guys missed that, I was complaining about starting with the tree roots. I tried to zero mesh the body, but it didn't work super well because I wasn't doing it right. Alright. So I kind of just grabbed another layer and I duplicated it, and I'm kind of seeing if I can just get away with it. Sometimes when I get, like, getting this balance just right, it's kind of tricky, so it can feel a little intimidating. So what I try to do instead is just get something down, and more often than not, it ends up being plenty good enough. Why are you not moving? There we go. See, when I go from this side, it barely wants to move. If I go view it straight on, it moves no problem. I want to move you from this angle. Okay, it's working now. Alright, this is looking pretty neat. And I'll probably use that initial braid that I made to get these done as well. Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it, Non-Sleeper. It is now slightly discounted. It's gonna be super fun. Xander, everything can be a business expense. I mean, it can be, but like, I don't know if it's like growing up as a total goody two-shoes or what, but like, I am way too paranoid about being audited for an expense that I can't deduct, but God, it helps so much tax-wise. Oh my goodness. The very, very first year, I deducted like nothing. I paid a lot of taxes, which is fine. You know, I use roads. I enjoy that we have firefighters in schools. I like to pay for these things, you know? But it was silly of me. I've done better since. So I know for sure I'm going to do some sort of ridiculous cat animation using that stream deck for. Non-Sleeper, if you have something like an animal that you like penguins or something, let me know. I'll do a cute little animation with whatever animal that you pick, just as like an extra thank you. There's just kind of like a piece that's missing in the back, which I think is funny because that's the same way that I style my hair. Whenever I curl my hair, I always miss a piece directly in the middle and the back. But I can't see it, so I just... Doesn't sound like my problem. If it doesn't look good, just don't look at it. This is looking even better than I had hoped. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to auto groups. So you'll notice that these change colors. So this is before, this is the after. And now I can grab individual pieces. And I'm going to try to only split them off towards the end because I think it'll look more root-like. It's kind of tricky. Also, the reason that I went upside down like this to do it, one's kind of easier to grab onto them, but also because it's, if I turn off perspective, it'll mean that they're mostly on the same plane. Oh, polar bears. That is such a good pick, man. Oh, I love that. All right, I'm going to write that down in my notes really quick. All right. It has been noted. Miguel, I'm not doing tardigrades. Those are gross. And there's like those tiny little like bacteria. All right. And thank you guys for hanging out. Again, this is always a really good time. And I'll be doing a lot, so you better not get sick of me. That's where all the cats and polar bear animations come in. I love that this giant model is going to be entirely supported by a bunch of tiny little roots and feet. It sounds like it'd be a mess, but I actually think it's going to print just fine. Ah, boo. I think they're cute. I guess. No. I'm like thinking about it. I'm just like, you know, no. There's too many things that are cuter. They're too low on that scale to register as cute. All right, we're going to call that good for right now. There's a lot of clipping that I'm probably not going to fix even, honestly. But as far as the overall silhouette, I am going to improve that later on. But I don't want to do it right now, so I'm not going to. I do want to move this one back root a little bit, just so it looks a little more stable. And that's about it. All right, I'm happy with that. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay, I'm going to clear the screen right there and then replace it with this new spooky model. And if I'm going to be doing those little screenshots, I can actually make the lighting super obnoxious and fun on those. So I'm going to do that. I work with the models a little dark because I swear it's just easier for me to see. I think that looks good, lighting-wise. Again, I keep wanting to mess with the roots because they're just so, like, slightly unbalanced right now, but it's fine. It is actively being worked on. I'm going to stop nitpicking it. Okay. Now they have that little screenshot on there. I will adjust the lighting. It still affects that? That doesn't even make sense. Well, never mind about the fun lighting then, guys. Never mind. And then Xander said that tardigrades look like CR10 monsters. Alright, oh gosh. CR, I was thinking like, what was the first thing that came to mind? It seemed like the 3D printer. Isn't that what it was? Like the Enders? Anyway. But no, I know what you're saying now. Like, challenge rating. I'm actually going to toy with trying to write my own encounters and stuff. So I have a friend who's writing a book. And it's like a high fantasy, and he's doing a really good job. I've actually talked to him about writing encounters for me anyway. But then I realized I've been doing so much editing for him and, you know, rewriting parts. I'm just like, I really do like writing, actually. So I might try to write some encounters and stuff. We'll see how that goes. It's all this very, very slow process of me eventually finally DMing my first game. I know I've talked about it intermittently on streams for literally years. I don't know. I just want it to be good. I hate being bad at things, which is ridiculous because you have to be bad at things to get good at them. I'm aware of the process. And being like aware of what that it's irrational doesn't make me think it less though. Okay. Anyway. All right, I'm going to polygroup these two large sections of roots and then merge them down together because even though I thought that I wanted ZBrush folders for the longest time, now that I have them, I never use them. I just polygroup things and merge them together in the subtool, and that's how I use folders pretty much. Built-in folders. Alrighty, I'm going to duplicate this little tree root, and I am going to start refitting it to become these little, it's like a rib cage, isn't it? It also kind of reminds me of the structure of a hoop skirt. So yeah. I'm not sure if I should taper the ends now or later. Either way, I need to make the general shape, and I will use, maybe I might use bend arc for that. Yeah, that did a pretty good job. Okay, scooch it together a little bit, and then I'll use, nah, bend curve is just better in every way, I swear, which is funny, I didn't use it for the longest time. I've always used bend arc. There we go, kind of made that into a little C shape. What's going on? Oh, yes. This is what I'm talking about, making one piece and then just using it everywhere. I swear it works really well. Like when you work on it initially, it doesn't look very impressive. It's like, just trust the process. Just keep working with it. I swear it always works out. All right, I'm going to auto groups this. I'm going to separate them a little bit right now before I put them everywhere. Just a little bit. Where is the third branch? There it is. Because that overlapping effect is really what looks nice, I think. One of these days, I'm going to make a really nice tree. I have a couple nice trees, or people really like them. I don't know. I guess I'm a little stuck up when it comes to trees. Trees and dragons. I'm really picky about the design of them. And I feel like my trees don't quite have the most aesthetic balance. All right. We have that little braided piece now. And I'm going to start fitting it on. Also going to decimate it a little bit, if I can. Yes, it looks okay. There we go. Non-sleeper says, I want to be an expert at ZBrush, but like writing, I will not be wishing, only doing. Oh, I will not be by wishing, only doing. Yes, this is very true. This is very true. I mean, it's hard to do. It's hard to make time for it, you know? That is a good attitude, though. I feel like I really started improving in ZBrush once I decided I didn't care if I made bad art. And it's funny because I don't know if I've really ever made anything that I truly disliked everything about it. Pretty much everything I've sculpted, even in the very, very beginning. I always found something that I was proud of or that I liked about it. And I think that really helped me as well. Just keeping a good attitude, you know? Because once I've thought of it that way, I'm like, oh, what's the worst I'm going to do when I'm trying to learn how to do this? Make bad art. You know what I mean? I think it was harder for me. So I grew up playing a lot of piano, and I'm quite good at it now. But I feel like that was a lot harder for me to practice because if I'm sitting here drawing or sculpting something that looks stupid, no one else has to deal with it. But if I'm playing piano, and I mean, it really just sounds like ass. It sounds terrible when I don't know how to play something. It's because I'm playing it so slowly, you can't even tell what it is. And then I still miss notes. So it's like, even if you're trying to follow along with it, it's just completely unrecognizable and unpleasant. Anyway, so if anyone is around, it makes me very self-conscious because they can't not listen to it if they're around, unless I have headphones on, I guess. So, I don't know. I guess in that way, learning how to create art was a lot easier for me because it didn't matter who was around. All right, I think this is going to work really well. I just need to remember that as I move these down, to slowly increase the size of them. And it's going to look a little weird right now because they all look exactly the same, but I'll do my little auto groups trick at the end, and it's all going to work out. And if it doesn't, I'll try something else. I'm still really pleased how that braided effect turned out. I think I might try one more at the end here. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and hide this kind of base shape that I made. Turn on auto groups, massive polygroups to 100. And now we can start fine tuning this. And I'm not too worried about not touching her body because what I'll do is I will extrude like the thickness into her later so I don't have to worry about 3D printing and stuff. And some news here. Hello. All right. I like this taper effect that I have where it's kind of like this pyramid or triangle, but I don't want it to be such like an exact line. So I'm going to be making sure to, while overall keeping that shape, still slowly pulling things away from it. I am so glad that I ended up working on these roots today. I mean, it's pretty obvious the way that I designed this, that the entire like focal point of this is, you know, this weird tree root structure, and I still avoided it. I don't know. It just took a lot of too much design brain power at the time. I didn't have it in me. It looks best when things don't clip through each other, but a little bit of clipping is okay. There comes a point where it's very much like diminishing returns, where it's like you could obsess on it being perfect and everything, every volume maintains itself just right, but it doesn't matter. Just get it to where it looks convincing enough. So with some of these ends, I'm going to bend the root back in again, and that will add a lot of variation to this. But I don't want to do it so much to where it just looks like hair. It's looking pretty neat. I really like how this came out on the side. Like, it looks so woven, it looks really nice. Alright, so turning off local symmetry and then doing a mirror and weld. It's being a little silly. So I'll mirror, it has to mirror from left to right. I don't know why, I don't make the rules. There we go. That looks much nicer than what I had before. I'm not sure if I like how pinched this gets right here. But it is a clear design. Yeah, again, the whole model's tilted back a little bit, so when I pose it and as I keep working, I'll make sure it's a little more upright and centered. Alright, I'm just putting kind of like a view of this right now, take a little bit of a break. Also, it looks like more people voted in the poll, which is awesome. And it looks like the Myconid Queen is very much so in the lead now. Excellent. Yeah, so I'm working on the cursed ride right now. Just because that's where the first vote was, and I just figured I'd get started. But I can definitely get started on that really soon. Let me go ahead and save this before I forget. Yeah, I think the Myconid Queen looks unbelievably cool. I'll actually pull her up right now. I have it listed as Moth Queen right here because these wings behind her I plan to be moth wings. But as I work on her, she doesn't look like that at all. She just looks like a Myconid Queen. So So I didn't work on this on live stream. I actually worked on this with a friend, Ella's Arcanum. Her work is also great. And she helped me find the perfect texture. It's actually in the ZBrush Pixelogic library. So just a free asset that I combined with, I think, a standard brush, and then just kind of dragged that on and then tapered the edges. It turned out really, really nice. I am so happy with this model so far. I still want to push the design a little bit, and I'm not sure if we're going to give her a weapon or not. Her nails are super long, so I kind of figured, I don't know, she would just claw people. I also, it doesn't occur to me that she'd be much of a fighter. Again, I don't think Queen should have to fight. Doesn't she have subjects for that? All right. I have my iPad right here with my references, so I'm going to pull that up right now. There we go. Also charging my iPad, so I have to turn everything back upside down. There we go. Oh, very, very cool. Trying to think of what else I want to add to this. Like, I feel like her thighs look really bare, so I'll probably add a similar texture that I did to her shoulders. But I also like that I have so much happening around her calves right now, so I might work it up slowly from there instead. Also, I will end the poll, because this is probably going to work on for the rest of the time. Oh, and I didn't mention it, but if you guys have any questions, just let me know. I have my UI zoomed in a little bit for you guys so you can see better, but you can't see all my little buttons and menus, just a little bit of them. So it's kind of hidden, some things that I'm doing, but a lot of it's just hotkeys anyway, so I'd have to explain it anyway. So just ask. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is, I don't like how uniform they made these. It wasn't intentional. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to my mask lasso brush. Oh, but first I'm going to put this off to the side. That way, again, anyone new that tunes in can actually see what I'm working on, what's going on. Okay. Because right now they're all kind of samey in their shape. So I'm just going to mask this. I'm not sure why that keeps disappearing. And then I'll grab my transpose brush and kind of just pull this shape out nicely. I'm doing it pretty low poly right there just because it's easier to select. And then the Chisel Organic brush that they added in a somewhat recent update has a lot of these little ridge shapes that I've been using. I really like them. Yeah, this shape right here. Yeah, depending how I do this, it could almost look like she has like a garter on. That might be a nice asymmetrical detail too. I also like the idea of almost adding like scales. Let me add a color to this really quick. There we go. And something kind of like this. That's just really quick. That might be nice. And the only reason I'm not just doing the same texture that I have right here is because I don't want it to look too samey, you know? Oh goodness, Spotify, you picked a new song for me that I do not like. We're gonna just switch that off. There we go. I was listening to the new Taylor Swift album and it replaced it with just like straight up hard rap, and it's just like the one kind of music I really don't like. I'm like, you could have picked anything and you picked this. All right. I think I'm gonna go with this one instead, just because it's really perfect for what I'm working on, and it shouldn't be too samey either. I'm gonna hide her little skirt flap right there. I do wish it was a 6 out a little bit more, so I'll probably just draw it on and then click number 1 on my keyboard, and that repeats your last stroke. So that will kind of give me more volume that I'm looking for there. You can also just drag it up and just continue to make it larger. It is fairly blobby, so I will need to go back in with either just a manual brush to add some more interest to the edges of it. I think I'm gonna add one more section, and then I'll start to feather them in. Yeah, so see right now it really follows like her form, which is fine. I do like it overall, but it doesn't blend as well as I want it to. So I'll go with the smooth brush and trim dynamic. And then I'll go back to the chisel organic brush and I'll pick something that looks kind of like a little tab or like even like a scale. Something that doesn't have a ton of detail on it maybe. Unless it's perfect like this one. Then maybe I will go with a ton of detail. I'm just picking any areas I think would poke out the most. Just add some more like visual interest. And make it more fun to paint too. I'm going to feather a couple of these in as well. Get them really, really small off to the edges. I think this will work a lot better to her calves. Even though these are labeled as fungus up here, these would work really well for small feathers as well, like down. I also haven't worked on her shoes pretty much at all, so I'll try to get a lot of that done this stream as well. And I might put a bunch of little ones in here really quick, not being too careful with them, just to see if that's even something I want to do. I think so. And what if I even had it cross over the front of her knee? Kind of makes like a little heart on her thighs. I think it's cute. Yeah, I really like that. I think I'm gonna do a similar kind of patterning on her wrists. I love detailing hands. Sculpting hands from scratch, not so much, but just adding little details to the knuckles and stuff, oh, it's my favorite. And then I'll blend in these nails later on too. They're a little too round at the base right now. All right, so on the left is the before, all these little fine details I added, and on the right you can kind of see how much more detailed this is looking, because I definitely think the legs were looking a little plain. I almost wonder that instead of having these wings back here, instead, because I don't think the wings really fit with the design, like they're pretty, but what if I pick something that suited her better? I think what I'd like to do, I'm just not really sure how to do it, is create that like a veil that some mushrooms drop. I think morels do. It's a similar texture. Yeah, we're gonna try it. It's kind of like a honeycomb. It doesn't need to be see-through. Maybe I should just do honeycomb. Let's try this out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this cube. I'm going to flatten it down. I'm going to divide the edges and then Dynamesh it. I'm going to create the arc now because I'm going to UV unwrap it, so that when we add this surface noise, it's actually going to lay really nice and flat, and I have controls over the seams that way. So let's bring her back really quick. And I will loosely... Actually, you know what? I'll do a pretty good job creating the shape right now. So we're going to taper the edges and the top. So it's still going to have a similar silhouette, but the wings, I just don't think fit as well as I was hoping. I already like this a lot more. Also, it's going to make her much more like stable 3D print. Non-sleeper says save first. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. We'll do that. And I'll name her Myconid Queen instead of Moth Queen too, because I've really changed the direction where this is going to go. Alright. I'm going to zero mesh this a few times first because I am going to UV unwrap it and then I'll create subdiv levels. Oh, I'm about to sneeze. Okay, I like that. Alright, ideally I can create the seam to be on the bottom. Or you know, let's just see how it unwraps it the first time by itself. It did pretty much exactly what I wanted. Yeah, that looks okay. This is just so I can get the surface noise going the way I want it to. Why does that look so different now? It's like a very bright pink on everything, lighting-wise, and it's like beautiful. What the hell happened? I don't know why that happened. That's gorgeous though. I mean, you can see on the left before this other magical light beamed in by itself. I might have had that hidden and then hit a hotkey I don't know about that turns on another light. And Xander says, yeah, it's better. Yeah, right? I'm really happy with it. God, that light is so pretty. What the heck? Anyway. Alright, I know there is a honeycomb kind of surface noise, so let's This might even just be better as a thin fabric. We're going to go with obnoxious amount of details first. Because I think I'm going to like the honeycomb. So it's stretching a little bit right here, and that's what's kind of talked about the UV wrapping. I should be able to fix that if I turn on UV under surface noise. I don't know if you guys can see that on your screen because it's a little off to the side. Oh no, you should be able to see it. Okay, so see on this edge right here, if I click on 3D, it's all stretched and goofy looking. But it looks nice over here. Now if I click UV, now it looks even everywhere except for on these edges here, that's where the seam is. Yeah, I'm fine with that. That looks nice. I don't know if I'm going to keep this specific color palette. I mean, that's just what it's kind of picking. But it is nice. I think I'd rather do a white than the yellower tones because I think it's just it's a little distracting. It's a little too much. All right, this is at 500,000 points. Looks okay. Let's go to 2 million points, which is a lot, but it does look quite nice. I do like it. I think that's a lot more interesting than what I had before. That being said, it's just, you know, I haven't changed the shape yet. I wonder if I can add, like, what are they called? Like pipe folds. Like large, fancy wedding dress folds, you know? I wonder what that would look like. I'm going to just sculpt them on instead because it's going to be faster. My thing is like honeycomb, you know, it's not usually a flowy fabric. Which obviously I don't think it needs to be realistic, but sometimes if you stretch something too much, it starts looking too far detached from reality. It looks a little goofy. Alright, so I haven't added any fine detail to these pipe folds, but I also, again, it's a little too bright color-wise. I like the honeycomb painting it did, but it's just a little hard to read, so I'm just going to do some manual painting myself. I'm also going to pinch the edges because I do think this kind of looks a little too thick. I do want it to look a little more elegant than that. Okay, I'm going to put a quick poll in just to kind of get your guys' input on this too. Calling it wings or a skirt thing. On the left is kind of like they're just blobs right now, but they would end up being wings kind of laying behind her. Or this skirt thing that I have on the right, which is the honeycomb. I think the one on the right for sure, but I figured I'd ask you guys. Sometimes when you make something new, like it's just exciting and it looks better to me because it's fresher. But I'm curious what you guys think about that. Also, while that poll is running, which is just in the chat right there, I'll just take a small break anyway. I'm gonna stretch out my wrists and just stretch out my shoulders too. Why are my shoulders so tight? I have been doing this for longer than I thought. It's been an hour. I gotta say, the polls, I don't know when they added this feature, but they've been a lot of fun to use. And I plan to make the top. It's already kind of like has that texture, but very much like flower petal like. I'll probably add at least one more layer on it because that is the name of the game. I just add layers to everything at this point. But yeah. Oh, I feel like these images are a little biased though, because on the right she has all these extra details and stuff too. So try to ignore like all the fancy details on her, excuse me, on her thighs and her arms, but just focus on the little skirt thing. I'm definitely a lot happier with this concept though. I do wish maybe I went to the surface noise and sorry, I started thinking something else as I was talking. And made it a little bit thicker, so maybe it should up easier on a print and be easier to paint. But I'm probably going to manually carve out the honeycombs a little bit, not to so they're holes, but just so they're not this perfectly flat sheet, you know. All right, it looks like there's 3 votes so far, which is awesome. Thank you guys, and everyone agrees. Yeah, the one on the right looks the best. Yeah, I agree. Cool. Just want to double check. Because again, it's new, so it's like exciting for me. All right, I'm also now going to try to improve this a little bit more by kind of there we go, adding some texture to it. Okay, I have lazy mouse turned on so much that's making it hard to use this brush. There we go. Oh, it's not symmetrical anymore, so it is being a little silly. I don't think I'm going to want this alpha on there. But yeah, just going through and adding a little divot to the honeycombs. It's a little tedious because I'm out of symmetry right now. But this kind of effect usually is best done asymmetrically anyway. Yeah, see how much nicer it looks on the right than it does on the left? On the left it looks like too perfect. So I will actually do in the poll as well because I've already changed what was previously visible. Thank you guys for voting. Alright, I'm gonna continue doing this. When I do it from both sides, I'm a little worried about the mesh getting too thin in certain areas, but I should be able to check that at the end when I remesh it, and if it looks like it's being a little silly, I can add thickness where needed. I'm not being very precise with the way I'm doing these divots, and I think that's working in its favor. Definitely looks much better with them. I've done this before for a like a little shawl or cowl I did for a mushroom queen, which I guess that is what I called her, and this is similar, maybe a little bit more on the nose. I think I'm gonna make her hat more asymmetrical as well. It's so perfect right now that it just looks kind of childish to me. I don't know. I want her to look more elegant. All right, there we go. So now the honeycomb isn't perfectly flat everywhere. I think it looks a lot nicer. Also pinching the edges one more time because I've noticed that I can actually make fabric really thick and 3D printable and no problem. And as long as I just taper off the edges to be thin, it looks super thin and elegant and it's easy to print. It's like it's a win-win, you know? All right, I'm gonna have this settle down a little bit more. Make it look like gravity's actually affecting it, you know? From the back of this, it reminds me of those really dramatic, like French Revolution era dresses that had that big ol' bell on the back. wonder if I can add some folds to the bottom right here without it looking too messy. I think so. That is beautiful. Super happy with that. All right. The way she has her hands, definitely like Edward Scissorhand vibes right now. Also, might not super complement the design. I wonder if it'd look better just without them. No, must have long nails. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. All right, so now with the top right here, I'm gonna kind of just push the edges around a little bit to give this really soft petal-like texture. And I'll use the standard brush on the edge to get more of that ripple effect. Also, I think these are... Oh, okay, yeah. It's dynamic, so I shouldn't do a whole lot of sculpting on it. It doesn't actually exist, it's just a preview. And I'll add thickness now before it gets too tricky to do later. There we go. I'm gonna go ahead and apply that, so now this mesh actually exists. And then I'll keep smoothing and kind of feathering this out. Looking nice. I'm gonna duplicate the entire top and just move it in front. Because everything needs more layers. Since it is kind of form-fit, adding the second layer is a little trickier than I expected. Maybe I'll just have the second layer show on the bottom. The more I add the second layer, the more it looks like her ribs are being open. Like it's coming across as like gory to me as opposed to like layered flower petals, which is what I was trying to do. That is not working. We're not doing that. No second layer. Just the fine details is fine. I will add a little bit more texture on the bottom. But that's it. God, this brush has been super helpful. Yeah, just adding details to this as opposed to a second layer I think is working much better. There we go. Beautiful. Yeah, this model has a lot of charm to it. I do want to play with her hat more, so I'm going to duplicate it, hide the original, and then I might just decimate it. So I want to try to see what it looked like if it was more asymmetrical. But I don't want to deal with a million polygons. Oh, I thought I crashed ZBrush for a second. It gave me a heart attack. It wouldn't really matter. I have quick saves on every like 3 minutes, but still. Let's see, 1 layer only, maybe with some trim. Yeah, it's what I ended up pretty much doing. I like the fungus skills. Yeah, that's also pretty much what they look like as well. Alright. So that is pre-processed, and then I'll decimate it to like 100,000 points instead, and then use my favorite thing, bend curve, to kind of play with the shape for this more asymmetrical shape. There we are. Just want to flare the edge up a little bit, kind of like an old like Casanova hat or something. Tilt hat to one side. Yes, definitely. So I'll take the whole thing and just add a little bit of tilt like Non-Sleeper said. And yeah, I agree, it looks really nice. So I'm just following this curve right here and making that look as smooth and as elegant as possible. So that's the perfectly symmetrical hat, and then kind of like this more of a taper. I don't know if I got that just right or not. I'll make another poll for that. Just kind of, I don't know if I'll listen to you guys on it, but I'll take your input. Just let me know which one you prefer. I think I like the one on the right, like the direction it's going more, but I might just want the symmetrical hat, but just with a little tilt on it. My phone is notifying about things I don't care about. Got a new chair. It's much more comfortable, but it's much harder to roll around. Oh, yeah, my face is in the way. Let me just move my face. Bam. Now I'm here. And out of the way. So you can actually see both. That was a much more polite way of saying it. Saying just move the camera. It's hard to say. I kind of like both. Again, I think I like the symmetrical one more, but just take that one and tilt it a little bit as opposed to like deforming the side of the hat. They both look good. Oh, all of you guys picked the one on the right. Oh, sweet. Okay. Well, cool. Again, I've looked at it for so long that I kind of just like, I just get used to seeing it. You know what I mean? I ended the poll a little early just because, I don't know, 3 people voted last time, so I assumed the 3 were going to vote. They voted. And also, I kept a copy of the other hat just in case I want to get it back. But as of now, we're going with the flare. Gosh, this is so freaking cool. Did you guys have any thoughts of what this pose should be like? I'm not really sure how she should be posed. I'm thinking of crossing like one leg in front of the other. But like, what do I do with her hands? Like, what do I... I could have like one hand touching like the side of her hat that's lower here, you know? Maybe some fingers in front of her face, like a fan almost. Not sure. I feel like this model is so nice, it has to have more than one pose actually. It might be my new favorite thing that I've made, honestly. Alright, I want to add more to these shoes, but I want to keep their shape. And when I divide it, it gets all blob-like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in through here with the ZModeler brush. And I'm just going to add some crease edges so it maintains its shape a little better. Okay, that creased like the entire shoe. It worked. I like it. Alright, and I want to see if I can add those little petals to this or not. I might need to way up the poly count first. Sweet, that's all I needed to do. I thought these shoes would be harder to do, but since the creasing works so well, all I have to do is add some petal-like details to the side. You're really not going to be able to see much of the shoe, so I'm not going to spend too much time on them. One hand on her waist, other elbow bent. I could see that. Like hand on her waist as in like hand on hip, you know what I mean? Like a sassier looking pose, or more of a delicate, like, just touching her waist. Does that make sense? And then the other elbow bent I think would be nice. Kind of just like her hand just being up with all those like really long fancy nails and stuff. I think I was starting to lose a little bit of the soft shape on the edge of the shoe, so actually changing the shape of them a little bit first, and then I'll add some petal details. I think I'm going to actually detail more of the toe of the shoe instead. Yes, that's going to be really cute. That's going to do... It's a better effect than what I was doing before. Yeah, they look like little flowers. How cute. There we go. Oh, Zax is here. Hello. All right. Oh, I got some more input from you guys on what I should do for the pose. Thank you. Let me read these. Xander says, yes, sass. Okay. Non-sleeper says, smooth flowing and no harsh angles for a mushroom. That's a good point. So I can really kind of think about, obviously I can still like bend her elbows and that kind of stuff, but keeping that idea. And then Dustin says, hello, by the way. One hand on face, other on arm. She is not amused. Oh, the like this kind of thing. I don't know if you guys, how much you can see of me, but I kind of like that too. And it still has like the sass vibe that Xander was talking about. I like it. Looking good. Thank you. Thank you, Zaxis. I think this model is unbelievable. I am so in love with it. There's certain models you do that are just, as an artist, we're just like, I am the best. I'm the best that has ever lived. Obviously, I have stuff to improve on, but like, I'm feeling like hot stuff after this. Also, it doesn't hurt that like anything like Fae or Forest. I'm bound to like it anyway. So if I tried to do a sci-fi or a steampunk character I was just excited about, it'd be hard to do. Like, I like steampunk and more sci-fi things, but they're just harder for me to do. So, well, I like these pose ideas. I think I'm leaning towards some sort of hand on her face, just a little bit, because it's kind of sassy. Hand on hip is a little tricky because I do have this ridiculous like tutu-like thing. I like the elbow bent, or like this pose as well. I don't know if you guys can see all of me, but anyway. But I also don't want to cover up any of the design, which is unreasonable. I can't just have her T-posing and showing off the whole design the whole time. God, this model's so cool. And then if I can't decide, I'll just pick two. Everyone wins, you know? Just like a small variation. As far as with her feet, it's going to be pretty straight up and down like this, but it'll be kind of like a catwalk, sort of like leg posing where she has one leg slightly in front of the other. So the whole model will actually look like she comes to a point almost. So it's a good thing I actually ended up with this like a skirt like cape thing, because it is going to print a lot more stable than just two little feet being as close together as possible. Yeah, this is really neat. I still like the idea of doing a moth queen of some sort, but this was not the design for that. I was definitely trying to combine two ideas that I liked instead of just giving them their own space. I've always found that designs seem to succeed more when you're just trying to convey a couple concepts instead of like mashing together a lot of cool stuff. Simpler is better. It's easier to read in this case. Gosh, she is so cool looking. I might have used up most of my creative brain power. I predict I'm going to end the live stream soonish. So if you had any questions or things you wanted to ask or to say, now would be the time to do so. Like always, thank you guys for hanging out. I was able to use like that poll feature a lot more too, and that was super fun. You guys gave me fabulous suggestions. Honestly, if you guys hadn't said so, I probably would end up going back with the symmetrical hat, even though it was less interesting. Just because I had seen it so much more. I don't know. Gosh, again, the back of that. I might slim it down, but I love that silhouette. It cracks me up. It is so French Revolution dress, like, or Victorian, you know. I love it. Non-Sleeper says, thanks for letting us hang out with you and your creative process. Of course, I love it. This is super fun. There's no reason not to. So when I live stream initially, like I started a couple years ago, I used to have to really think about what I was going to say. Like, I'm very chatty. I have no problem talking about things, but it was a little harder for me to talk my process as I was doing it. And now I'm just saying what I'm thinking out loud. Pretty much everything I said out loud for you guys today was something I was already thinking in my head. It wasn't like, oh, how can I say this in an interesting way? It's like, nope, that's what I'm thinking. That's it. I think a small detail I'm going to end up adding to this is see how this line right here is this perfectly straight curve, and it is nice. But I think breaking it up a little bit, just the smallest little frilled edge would be nice. We'll see. Xander, no, you're completely correct. That's exactly what this looks like. It's fabulous. And the more we edited it, the more it looked like that. All of your guys' decisions. That's what this pointed towards. Again, her weird, like, shovel-shaped nails need to taper at the end. That's kind of bothering me. But I can fix that. Or you know what? I'll probably just make her fingers thicker as opposed to making her nails slimmer. That way it's just, there's more material to print there. It's easier. No, if that's what you thought of first when you saw it, that's fantastic, honestly. I mean, it's a great design. I know some artists get really frustrated when they create original characters, or this isn't completely original. There's tons of little mushroom ladies out there. But anyway. And people say, oh, it reminds me of this. And I know I have a lot of artist friends that it just drives them crazy. They'll be like, oh, yeah, thanks. No, I love when people tell me stuff like that because you're relating to something that you already like, you know? I don't know. I just think it's how we relate to things. Is we're like, oh, I like that. That makes me think of this, you know? I would hate if you guys saw something that I created and it was just so alien that you thought and related it to nothing. To me, that's a failure in design. You should be thinking of something. I'm trying to think of IPs that first came out that were super unique, like Horizon Zero Dawn. And even though it was a really fresh and interesting idea, I mean, animal, like, Mechatrons kind of things, or that wasn't the first time that I was done, and it had this very, like, Nordic Viking feel to it. Again, just combining ideas that you're already familiar with in a really effective way. Initially, I think she just looked like a ballerina dancer, but I wanted her to be sassier and stronger looking, so I'm happy it went this way. Alright, I think I'm gonna call this a wrap. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. I will be streaming again later this week, probably, as I keep working on this Cursed Forest project. If you haven't already, most of you guys are already patrons, but this is why I get to do this stuff every day. This is my full-time job. Please check out my Patreon and look at it, because it's cool. I also have this new vault feature, which is super freaking cool. It's pretty much like interacting with a model library as easy as possible. It is a gallery of all my renders, super nice and fancy and organized. You click on them, bam, opens up your folder with your files. It's very slick. Only for patrons. But thank you guys so much for hanging out, and I will see you guys later. Bye.